The C2S is a really great strategy to support complaints and criticism to solutions and strategies. So, again, it's kind of taking those complaints that we get as leaders and moving towards a solution and strategy focus. And so, when we're thinking through this idea of the C2S, we're really thinking about our mindset and our roles. So, first, there's that complain and criticize, right? This is a normal first reaction for a lot of folks. But then we need to move. We can't stay in that state. We need to lead and we need to move to that solution and strategy. And this is actually where progress happens, right? And so my rule is usually I like to allow maybe 2 minutes at max of complaining to really just understand. Then once we understand, shifting to the solutions, right? And no conversation ends with criticism in this C2S kind of mindset space. So, with this activity, students or teachers, but probably more so teachers, can come in and they're really able to kind of think through and reflect through their day, right? Or through the problem. And so, first, we acknowledge the emotions before we kind of think through the solutions, right? We can kind of use language like, oh, this might sound frustrating because, right? Let's focus though what we can influence today because there's so much out of our control as educators. Then we're able to ask power questions to shift the ownership. We can really think through what would a win maybe look like? What is one step that we can take this week? How can we handle this well? How have we handled this before? Well, right? We can also name patterns. We can think through and kind of brainstorm, different patterns that maybe didn't work or have worked, but a lot of times we focus a lot on what is not working. But we can really sometimes take just a moment and think, through those patterns of what's not working or what has worked. There's also time box venting where it's not going to go on for long, right? It's not going to go out for 10 minutes, but really focusing down on 2 minutes of kind of that venting and then really using 10 minutes on solutions. Also, using this strategy, we can really appreciate inquiry, right? We can think through what strengths can we leverage here? How can we really build on what we have and what's going right for us? We can also kind of think through and model forward focused language. They should, right? Or we can, kind of phrasing the future. Also, thinking about the circle of control, influence, and concern, putting items in the right circle, and what can we act, what can we influence, and how can we release the rest? How can we let it go? And then we're able to end with an action and commitment. Who will do what by when? And how can we define done? How are we going to have that common definition of this is done? We're going to write it, share it, and follow up. So, what this space looks like is teachers are able to come in and they're able to share what they're overwhelmed with, right? From here, the timer starts running for 2 minutes where I can vent away all of those feelings, all of those stress. You can see here, I've got 15 seconds left. Keep going. What else is there that we need to get out? From here, we're going to then go into that control, influence, and concern, where now I'm able to think through what can I control, what can I influence, and what concerns do I still have. After that, I'm able to think through and I'm able to come in and really kind of think through those control, influence, and concern space and adapt whatever I need. After that, I can think about what a win might look like. I can also think about the small steps that I might take, what feels doable. Another, what might a win look like? The small steps that I can do that might, again, feel doable. After I kind of go through and think about my wins and the small steps that we're able to take, a nicely weekly prioritized sync commitment or whatever the problem was, document can appear where we can see our objectives. We can also see that owner. We can see the steps, the due dates. We can define when done is when we think the definition of done has happened. And we're also able to see our action steps. These are all based on our conversation that we're exploring with Dot. Once we're all set, we're able to export this resource into our Google document, Microsoft, or a PDF. And again, this can really, really help because it shifts our thinking to solutions, right? Oftentimes we just want to keep venting and venting and venting, but we're able to think about what's one step that we can do this week towards a win. Also, the time box, having those 2 minutes to vent can also help because then it's timed, right? We have 2 minutes and then we're going to switch to solutions. Also, we're able to think about what next steps, who's doing what by when. And we can also kind of reflect through these prompts, really thinking through what is it that we're able to do and how can we kind of go more towards that acknowledgement, asking those power questions, naming the pattern, time box, right, where we only got that limited time to think through and vent. We're able to think through our strengths. We can use forward language and draw those circles to make those actions and commitments. So, again, this is a great space to problem solve and to support great strategies and come up with that common definition of done as we're working towards solutions.